Welcome to the introduction of the principles of management. This is Chapter 1. Section 1.7. Your Principles of Management Survivor's Guide. In this video presentation, we need to stay focused on our learning objectives. And our learning objectives are: 1. Understand your preferred learning style. 2. Understand how to adapt your style to the situation. 3. Make use of the Gauge Discover Reflect framework. Management principles courses often mix knowledge about skills with the development and use of such talents. For these reasons, you should create your own approach for learning about and improving management skills. The first component of this method should be based on your individual proclivity towards learning. The second portion of this strategy should adhere to some variation of the Gauge Discover Reflect procedure outlined at the end of this section. Assess your learning style. You can evaluate your learning style in a variety of ways. At a high level, you can measure your style intuitively. Nevertheless, we recommend that you utilize a survey instrument such as the Learning Style Index, LSI, the results of which you can easily compare with your intuition. In this section, we will go over the dimensions of the LSI, which you can easily and quickly complete online. The poll will determine whether your learning style is active or reflective, sensory or intuitive, visual or verbal, and sequential or global. This section is greatly influenced by Richard K. Felder and Linda K. Silverman's work. In addition to their research, there is an online tool used to measure preferences on 4 dimensions of a learning style model, developed by Felder and Solomon of North Carolina State University: active or reflective, sensing or intuitive, visual or verbal, and sequential or global. Individuals who want to assess their own learning style profile and educators who want to use it for teaching, advising, or research may use the Learning Styles Index, LSI, for free for non-commercial uses. What is your intuition about your learning style? The answers to 4 questions can help you determine your learning style. 1. How do you prefer to process information, actively, through physical action, or passively, through discussion? Or introspectively, through reflection? 2. Which type of information do you prefer to perceive, sensory, external, sights, sounds, and physical sensations? Or do you mean intuitive, internal, possibilities, insights, hunches? 3. External information is most efficiently perceived through which sensory channel: visual, pictures, diagrams, graphs, and demonstrations? Or are they verbal, words, sounds? Other sensory channels, including as touch, taste, and smell, are underutilized in most educational settings and are not included here. 4. How do you develop toward comprehension, sequentially or in continuous steps? Or do you mean globally, in big leaps, holistically? Active and reflective learners. Everyone is both busy and reflective at times. Your choice for one of the categories may be strong, moderate, or mild. It is preferable to strike a balance between the two. If you always act before you think, you may act too quickly and get into danger, yet if you spend too much time thinking, you may never get anything done. An active learner says, "Let's try it out and see how it works," while a reflective learner says, "Let's think it through first." If you are an active learner, you will retain and understand material better if you do something active with it, such as discussing, applying, or explaining it to others. Reflective learners tend to mull it out quietly first. Sitting through lectures without getting to do anything physical but take notes is difficult for both types of learners, but especially for active learners. Active learners prefer group work over reflective learners, who prefer working alone. Sensing and intuitive learners. Everyone is intuitive at times and sensing at others. Your preference for one or the other may be strong, moderate, or weak in this case as well. To be a good learner and problem solver, you must be able to function in both modes. If you place too much emphasis on intuition, you may overlook key details or make careless errors in mathematics or hands-on labor. If you place too much emphasis on sensing, you may rely too much on memory and familiar procedures and not enough on understanding and innovative thinking. Even if you require both, which one better reflects your personality? Sensors prefer well-established ways for handling problems and despise complexity and surprises. Intuitors prefer innovation and dislike repetition. Sensors are more prone than intuitors to hate being tested on topics not expressly presented in class. Sensing learners enjoy acquiring facts, whereas intuitive learners prefer uncovering possibilities and relationships. Sensors are good at recalling information and doing hands-on work, which is laboratory. Intuitors may be better at absorbing new concepts, and are often more comfortable with abstractions and mathematical formulations than sensors. Sensors are more realistic and cautious than intuitors. Intuitors operate faster and more creatively than sensors. Sensors dislike courses with no obvious relationship to the actual world. If you are a sensor, you should enjoy principles of management. Intuitors dislike plug and chug courses that require a lot of memorization and regular computations. Visual and verbal learners. Most college classrooms show relatively little visual information. Students mostly listen to lectures and read content written on whiteboards, textbooks, and handouts. Unfortunately, because most of us are visual learners, we do not absorb nearly as much knowledge as we would if more visual presentations were used in class. Effective learners can process information that is delivered visually or audibly. Pictures, diagrams, flowcharts, timelines, films, and demonstrations are the most memorable for visual learners. Verbal learners benefit more from written and spoken explanations. When knowledge is given both visually and vocally, everyone learns more. Sequential and global learners. Global learners may be able to solve complex problems quickly, or put things together in novel ways, once they have grasped the big picture, but they may struggle to explain how they did it. Sequential learners tend to follow logical, stepwise paths in finding solutions. Sequential learners often gain comprehension in linear phases, with each step logically following the previous one. Global learners have a tendency to learn in great leaps, absorbing data almost randomly, without noticing connections, and then suddenly getting it. Many people reading this description may wrongly infer that they are universal because everyone has experienced perplexity, followed by a rapid flash of knowledge. What happens before the light bulb turns on determines whether you are global or not. Although sequential learners may not fully comprehend the content, they can nevertheless do something with it, such as answer homework problems or pass a test, since the portions they have acquired are logically connected. Strongly global learners, who lack solid sequential thinking skills, on the other hand, may struggle until they grasp the larger picture. Even after they have information, they may be hazy about the subject's details, whereas sequential learners may know a lot about specific parts of a subject, but may struggle to relate them to different aspects of the same subject, or to different subjects. Adapt your style. So you've determined your learning style. What do you think you should do now? You can use this essential and important knowledge about yourself to improve your approach to your management principles course and the bigger POLC framework. Active learners. When you act before you think, you are more likely to make rash and perhaps incorrect decisions. You should focus on summarizing circumstances and having time to sit alone to assimilate knowledge before leaping in and discussing it with others. If you are an engaged student in a class that provides little or no time for discussion or problem-solving activities, you should endeavor to compensate for these deficits in your studies. Study in a group setting where participants take turns explaining various things to one another. Collaborate with others to predict what you will be asked on the next test and how you will respond. You will always remember information better if you can put it to use. Reflective learners. If you overthink things, you risk accomplishing nothing at all. There comes a point when a decision or action must be taken. Participate in collective decision making whenever feasible and try to apply the facts you have in the most practical way possible. If you are a reflective learner in a class where there is little or no time for you to think about new knowledge, you should try to compensate for this shortage when you study. Don't just read or remember the content, take breaks to analyze what you've read and consider possible questions or applications. You may find it beneficial to write brief summaries of readings or class notes in your own words. This may take more time, but it will allow you to retain the information more efficiently. Sensory learners. When you rely too heavily on your senses, you tend to favor what is known and focus on things you already know, rather than being imaginative and adjusting to new situations. Seek opportunities to gather theoretical information, and then apply evidence to support or refute these notions. Sensors recall and comprehend information better when they can see how it relates to the real world. You may struggle if you are in a class where the majority of the information is abstract and theoretical. Inquire with your instructor about specific instances of concepts and methods, as well as how the principles relate in practice. If your teacher does not provide enough information, look for them in your course material, or other references, or brainstorm with friends or classmates. Intuitive learners. When you rely too heavily on intuition, you risk overlooking key facts, which can lead to poor decision-making and problem-solving. Force yourself to absorb information, or memorize data, that can assist you in defending, or criticizing a theory, or process with which you are working. You may need to slow down, and examine details that you would normally overlook. Many college lecture sessions are designed for intuitive students. However, if you are an intuitor, and are in a class that focuses heavily on memorizing, and rote substitution in formulas, you may experience ennui. Inquire with your instructor about interpretations, or hypotheses, that connect the facts, or try to identify the links on your own. Because you are impatient with details, and dislike repetition, you may be prone to making casual mistakes on tests, as in checking your completed solutions. Before you begin answering, take the time to read the entire question, and double-check your answers. Visual learners. If you focus on pictorial, or graphical information, rather than words, you will be at a considerable disadvantage, because spoken and written information is still the most preferred method of information transmission. Practice taking notes, and looking for opportunities to share information to others using language. If you are a visual learner, look for diagrams, sketches, schematics, pictures, flowcharts, or any other visual representation of vocal course information. Inquire with your instructor, study reference books, and see if there are any videotapes or CD-ROM displays of the course material. Create a concept map by identifying significant points, enclosing them in boxes or circles, and adding lines with arrows to indicate links between concepts. Use a highlighter to color code your notes so that everything related to a single topic is the same color. Verbal learners. Look for opportunities to learn through audiovisual presentations, just as you would for visual learners, such as CD-ROM and webcasts. When taking notes, organize the information into concepts, and then construct visual links, with arrows leading to and from them. Make use of any and all opportunities to develop charts, tables, and diagrams. Make your own summaries or outlines of course material. Working in groups can be especially beneficial. You gain comprehension of topic by hearing classmates describe it, and you learn even more when you explain it yourself. Sequential learners. When things are broken down into little components, it is often possible to jump directly into problem solutions. This appears to be favorable, yet it is frequently ineffective. Slow down, and consider why you are doing something, and how it relates to the larger aim, or objective. Consider how your activities will benefit you in the long run. If you can't think of a practical application for what you're doing, take a step back, and think about the larger picture. The majority of college courses are taught in a sequential order. However, if you are a sequential learner, and your instructor leaps from topic to topic, or skips steps, you may struggle to understand and recall. Request that the instructor fill in the blanks, or fill them in yourself by consulting references. When studying, make an outline of the lecture material for yourself, in logical order. This will save you time in the long term. You might also try to improve your global thinking skills, by relating each new topic you learn to topics you already know. The more you can accomplish this, the better your comprehension of the subject will be. Global learners. If you find it simple to grasp the large picture, you may be tempted to run before you can walk. You recognize what is required, but may not take the effort to learn how to effectively achieve it. Take the time to seek clarification and force yourself to complete all problem-solving stages before reaching a conclusion or making a choice. If you can't describe what you did and why, you may have overlooked important elements. If you are a global learner, it can be beneficial to recognize that you need to understand the big picture of a subject before you can master the intricacies. It can be problematic if your instructor jumps right into new topics without explaining how they relate to what you already know. Fortunately, there are actions you may do to obtain a better sense of the big picture faster. Before diving into the opening portion of a chapter in a book, go through the entire chapter to get a sense of what's going on. This may take some time at first, but it may save you from having to go over particular areas afterwards. Instead of spending a small amount of time on each subject every night, you may find it more productive to immerse yourself in certain subjects for extended periods of time. Try to connect the subject to what you already know, either by asking the instructor for assistance or by consulting references. Above all, don't lose trust in yourself. You will eventually grasp the new content, and understanding how it relates to other topics and disciplines may allow you to use it in ways that most sequential thinkers would never consider. Gauge, discover, reflect. By assessing your learning style, you have already began to apply the spirit of what we advocate in this third section of developing your management survival kit. The three essential components are as follows. 1. Gauge, take stock of your knowledge and capabilities about a topic. 2. Discover, learn enough about a topic to set specific development goals on which you can apply and practice, and later gauge again your progress toward your set goals. And 3. Reflect, step back, and look at how you achieved your goals, taking the opportunity to set new ones. Gauge. It is always a good idea to begin any self-development process with gaining an understanding of where you are. As a result, we begin with the gauge stage. Such information is required for learning and developing in the area of management principles. As an example, suppose you wish to go on a road trip out of town. Even if you have a map and a compass, it is critical to know where you are starting on the map. Your instructor will most likely introduce you to a variety of management evaluation methods, and you should experiment with them to discover how they function and how well the results match your intuition. A word of caution here: just because some evaluation findings contradict your intuition or self-image, do not assume they are incorrect. Instead, utilize them as a springboard for future investigation. This can fuel your work in the discovery and reflect stages. The obvious benefit of starting your learning process with some kind of assessment is that you have a defined starting point in terms of knowledge. This also means you now have a foundation for comparing your accomplishment to any relevant specific goals you set. Perhaps less visible is the experience you will gain with management skill assessment principles in general. Assessment is being used by an increasing number of firms in the recruitment, human resource development, and, yes, even promotion processes. Your experience with these various surveys will give you the confidence to take other surveys, as well as the knowledge required to demonstrate to organizations that you are aware of your areas of strength and development potential. Discover. The discovery stage of your Principles of Management Survival Kit consists of 4 interconnected components: 1. Learn, 2. Make goals, 3. Apply, and 4. Practice. Let's take a look at each one individually. Learn. You've undoubtedly learned something about a subject just by assessing your knowledge of it. In certain circumstances, you may have even done a lot of research on the subject to precisely determine where you were strong or weak. There isn't a survey for every topic, therefore it's useful to learn how you could gauge this or that area of interest. The learning aspect essentially urges you to expand your knowledge base on a specific issue. As you are aware, learning has several sides, ranging from merely memorizing facts and definitions to developing knowledge of how to use that knowledge. You should normally begin with some mastery of facts and definitions, and then expand your knowledge base to a more strategic level, that is, understand when, where, and how you may employ those definitions and facts in management principles. Set SMART goals. The combination of assessing and learning about a topic should allow you to define some goals connected to your primary topic. For example, you might desire to improve your team communication skills or have a better understanding of change management. While your objectives should reflect the junction of your own needs and the subject, we do know that effective objectives satisfy certain features. The acronym SMART is derived from these characteristics: specific, measurable, aggressive, realistic, and time-constrained. Peter Drucker invented the term for SMART objectives when discussing objective-based management in his influential 1954 work, The Practice of Management. Here's how to tell if your objectives are SMART. Specific. Specific goals are more likely to be achieved than a general goal. To set a specific goal, you must answer the 6 W questions. 1. Who, such as, who is involved? 2. What, such as, what do I want to accomplish? 3. Where, such as, at what location? 4. When, such as, in what time frame? 5. Which, such as, what are the requirements and constraints? 6. Why, such as, what specific reasons, purpose, or benefits are there to the accomplishment of the goal? Get a career as a retail store manager, for example. A particular goal, on the other hand, would state, identify my development needs in the next 3 weeks to become a retail store manager. Are you ready to be a great retail store manager? Supplies you with an initial selection of survey questions that may assist you in accelerating your progress toward this specific goal set. Are you ready to be a great retail store manager? The service sector employs more than 80% of the United States workforce, and the position of retail store manager is in increasing demand. Have you already developed the skills to be a great store manager? Score yourself on each of these 10 people skills. How close did you get to 100? Identify 2 areas to develop, and then move on to 2 more areas once that goal is achieved. Please look at the survey for a moment and start rating yourselves. Please look at the survey for a moment and start rating yourselves. Measurable. When goals are specific, performance tends to be higher. Why? How would you know if you had met a goal, if it was not clear and measurable? Any level of performance might be acceptable. Similarly, urging someone to do your best is not an effective aim, because it is not measurable, and does not provide the person with a precise target. Aggressive. This may appear to be paradoxical, but achieving effective goals is difficult, not easy. Stretch objectives are another name for aggressive aims. Why are aggressive aims effective? Simple aims do not present a difficulty. When goals are aggressive, and require employees to work more or smarter, performance tends to skyrocket. Realistic. While goals should be challenging, they should also be grounded in reality. In other words, if a goal is perceived as impossible to achieve, it has no motivational value. Only you can decide which goals are reasonable, and which are impossible to reach. Just make sure that the target you set, while aggressive, is realistic. Timely. The goal should provide a timetable for achieving the targeted performance level. It gives the person a sense of urgency this way. Apply and practice your subject knowledge, together with your SMART goals, allows you to apply and test your understanding. To return to our road trip analogy, gauging provides a starting place, learning provides a route map and compass, and goals provide a destination. In turn, practice simply means repeating the application process. Your goal here should be to apply and practice a subject for a long enough period of time that you will notice some change or development when you assess it again. Reflect. This final stage is divided into 2 parts: 1. Gauge again, and 2. Record. Gauge again. You should keep track of your progress, as advised under apply and practice. Have you grown more creative? Do you converse better in groups? Do you have a better understanding of other fundamental management principles? Record. Many individuals will likely stop at the gauge again point, but they will be passing on an extremely crucial chance. Examine what you've learned and accomplished in relation to your goals, and keep a notebook to track your progress. A journal may be required as part of a Principles of Management course, therefore there may be both extrinsic and internal motivations for beginning to keep a journal. There are also other exercises that you can do while journaling. These provide you the opportunity to stretch yourself, and think more creatively and deeply. An effective diary entry should include vivid visuals and sentiments. You should try to include your reactions as well as facts, or events connected to your developmental objectives. The experience of certain trials may not be what you expected, and this is what is vital to remember. You will undoubtedly experience upheaval at various times, and these emotions are ideal fuel for journaling. Journaling allows you to express and comprehend your emotions. These types of entries can help you have a more complete understanding of prior occurrences. Aside from the goals you are assessing, there are other topics to write about in a journal. You might think about the day, the week, or even the entire year. You can think about events you've been a part of, or people you've met. Look for any conclusions you may have reached, or disputes you may have encountered. Most importantly, write about your emotions. You will be able to explore your own emotional responses as a result of this. You may discover that you must take personal action, or respond to such conflicts. The conclusions you get from your diary entries are the components for self-development. Dealing with those problems may also improve your life, by allowing you to grow as a person. You should also go back and read over what you've written. Consider each diary entry you've made and what it signifies. This is the fundamental benefit of journaling for self-improvement. It is simple to notice changes in oneself when you keep a notebook. You may discover that you had a worrisome thought one day, but your attitude was much better the following. You may also notice that your attitude evolves and improves over time. This is what distinguishes journaling as a true self-development tool. Although journaling is affordable, it does need time and dedication. The time aspect itself can be tiny, as little as 10 minutes per day, or as much as 30 minutes per week, depending on how you want to summarize your life. However, you must be inspired to write on a regular basis. Even if you don't have a lot of time to write, you'll be able to benefit from the significant amount of personal growth that journaling provides. This could imply that your initial goal is to set aside time for journaling. Congratulations! You are now at the end of the presentation. Let's take a look at the key takeaway. A journal may be required as part of a Principles of Management course, therefore there may be extrinsic, as well as internal motivations for beginning to keep a journal. You can also participate in other exercises by journaling. These enable you to push yourself, and think more creatively and deeply. An effective diary entry should be written with distinct visuals and feelings. You should try to include your reactions, as well as facts, or occurrences, connected to your developmental goals. The experience of certain trials may not be what you expected, and this is crucial to remember. You will undoubtedly experience upheaval at various times, and these sentiments are ideal fuel for journaling. Journaling allows you to express and understand your emotions. These types of entries can help you gain a more comprehensive understanding of prior occurrences. In addition to the goals you are reviewing, there are other topics to write about in a journal. You might think about the day, the week, or even the year. You can think back on events, or persons, you've met. Look for any conclusions you may have reached, or any disputes you may have encountered. Most importantly, write about how you felt. This will allow you to explore your own emotional responses. You may discover that you need to take a personal action, or respond to such conflicts. The conclusions you get from your diary entries are the components for self-development. Facing those problems may also improve your life, by allowing you to grow as a person. You should also always go back and review what you have written. Consider each diary entry you've written, and what it implies. This is the true benefit of journaling for self-development. It is simple to see changes in yourself, as a result of your journaling. You may discover that you had a disturbing concept one day, but your attitude was much better the following. You may also notice that your attitude evolves and improves with each passing day. This is what distinguishes journaling as a genuine self-development tool. Although journaling is affordable, it does necessitate time and dedication. The time aspect itself can be as little as 10 minutes per day or as much as 30 minutes per week, depending on how you choose to summarize your life. You must, however, be motivated to write on a regular basis. Even if you don't have a lot of time to write, you can still benefit from the significant amount of personal growth that journaling provides. This could imply that your initial priority is to make time for journaling. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like our videos, and share our messages. Have a nice day.